Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right? Oh! The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa,
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
He picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna
score! We'll see you next week, but until then, as always, go Chiefs. Welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It is a Chiefs victory party. We're here for the post-game show as the Kansas City Chiefs defeat the Atlanta Falcons on the road 22-17 to stay unbeaten and move to 3-0. Patrick Allen here with you, joined by Price Carter and my guy, Sterling Holmes. Sterling Holmes and I both are sick. I've got a cold. Sterling's got a bug. So flu game. But we don't take victory parties off. Fellas, not a pretty one for the Chiefs. Other than the final score. Sterling, why don't you kick us off? What are your initial thoughts on that performance?
I love Nick Bolton. I want to give him the biggest hug. Hopefully he's okay. Whatever he was fighting through, was it his back? I don't know. But dude was incredible. The rust is clearly knocked off of Nick Bolton because this was just a dominating performance by Bolton, in my opinion. A lot of things we can get into, but that's the first thing that came to mind was Nick Bolton time after time in pass coverage in the run game. It was fitting that he made that final play right there, that he just crashed down hard and wrapped up Bijan Robinson because my goodness. You're muted. Either that or you're that sick. I don't know.
I'm super sick. That's Nick Bolton experience, right? He has these dud games occasionally and some limitations, but then he has a game like this where he reminds you why he's that dude and why he's such an important part of this defense. Price, what did you see out there, man?
Yeah, I thought that not only did we get kind of an inspired Nick Bolton performance, right, but I think that just the defense as a whole, I felt like these first 2 weeks was kind of a story of, boy, the defense is not going to be as good and the offense is going to have to be better. And that's kind of been the storyline all offseason and stretching the field with the offense. But this was a nice reminder that the Chiefs have a lot of ways that they can win football games. And this Sunday in particular, there was a lot of crazy results. The 49ers, a team that was in the Super Bowl that took the Chiefs to overtime, lost to a Rams team that had me starting at left tackle. The Panthers whipped up on the Raiders. I mean, there's just lots of weird results all across the NFL. And when it comes down to it, the Chiefs, they just know how to win these games. And this time they were able to do it with defense. Hats off to Steve Spagnuolo, who was just in his absolute bag. They basically were on the field for the last 10 minutes of that game, minus a minute or less of possession from the Chiefs where they go 3 and out, and held them to 0 points. And that's a huge feat. That's a great offense. And they were going for pretty much every fourth down and they stopped them routinely. So I just thought that was a great sign. And yes, some players have been knocking off rust, like Justin Reed, like Nick Bolton, but it's a nice reminder of what a weapon this defense can be.
I want to point out, watching every single Chiefs game, for me, I as someone who does not like to fly, it's like severe turbulence. You're going to be okay when you land. You understand the Chiefs are going to win this game. You understand this is what they do. But while you're in the air and while you're watching the Chiefs game, your heart rate's going to be through the roof. You're terrified. You're nervous as hell. And then you finally land. The Chiefs win. You look up. Okay, we're all good. And you're going to get back on that flight just so you're going to watch the Chiefs game the very next week. But that's what it's like for me. Watching the Chiefs is like severe turbulence.
It's like our buddy Austin, Real Board Lawyer on Twitter, who also is on a fan-sided podcast. It's Always Sunny in Chiefs Kingdom. He posted the meme and got a ton of grief on it. The meme where it's like, okay, cool, the Chiefs play. Then the whole middle section is, I want to die. And then at the end, it's like, nice, we won. And people don't understand because they're like, get out of here with this. You're a Chiefs fan. You can't feel that way. But there's this immense pressure that it just exists in every Chiefs game, because it's like, well, we don't want to waste this. This is this golden opportunity. So yes, I every time I'm like, oh, there was this moment in this game where it feels like we're ready to just have a nice, comfortable game. And nope, got to make it interesting. Got to like feel like my heart's going to drop out of my chest.
Let's go to the chat. We've got some great super chats from everybody here celebrating our guy J. Cole, Arrowhead Addict member in the starting 11 tier for 19 months, as in Spags we trust. Slothy, who has been making it a habit of super chatting the final score of the game, donates 22.17. Never a doubt. We are still undefeated while I wear a jersey. 3-peat, nay, Chiefs beat incoming. Slothy's going to be in trouble because he's got to keep the shtick going. And if the Chiefs go and beat the Chargers like 10,000 to 300 next week, I'll be interested to see what he does there. And shout out to my girl Michelle Sugar Jones. Says, hi Patrick, what a great wedding gift. She got married on Friday, so happy to her. Best to her and her partner. Chiefs Kingdom is very happy for you. You said something I thought that was really interesting, Price, which is that there were weird results around the NFL today. And I think it's a nice reminder, week 3, that we really don't know who's good and who's bad yet. The teams don't really know what their identity is this early in the season. They're still getting tested. So you have an Atlanta Falcons team that comes out there in week 1 and looks absolutely terrible. And then they look kind of almost equally as bad against Philadelphia, but then they find their offense. In this game, with the exception of the offensive line injuries, I felt like this Atlanta offense looked like what I expected it to look like coming into this season, with a competent veteran quarterback like Kirk Cousins and weapons like Kyle Pitts and Drake London and Bijan Robinson. I thought the Chiefs did a tremendous job defensively working on the run game. That's never been a strength of theirs in recent years. And this was a game where they knew that the Falcons were going to want to come out and run the ball, and they just didn't let them.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that play was a perfect encapsulation, right? That last play, while Nick Bolton does shoot the gap really well, and Leo Chanel also is just having great penetration, but the defensive line shoving this vaunted offensive line of the Falcons back is what makes that play possible. And I need to eat some crow. Pretty much all offseason, I talked about how concerned I was about the interior defensive line because of the lack of depth, and they've just been rotating guys. But Derek Nottie, Mike Pennell, Tershawn Wharton, who had a huge play in this game, like hit Kirk Cousins' pass to end up turning it into an interception. Those guys have really shown up. And Tershawn Wharton has been probably like a top 5 player on this defense so far into the year. He looks great. And they've really shut down pretty much any running back. Like Bijan Robinson, he got a touchdown out of this game. It was a short yardage carry for a touchdown. But they've really shut down Derrick Henry. They shut down Chase Brown and Zach Moss. And now Bijan has been pretty much limited. And that ended up sealing the game for him. 82
yards rushing for the Falcons in this game. Robinson, 16. This is a top NFL back, Bijan Robinson. He's incredibly talented. 16 carries for 31 yards. Unbelievable.
He's no Carson Steele, 17 for 72.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I think Turk Wharton, as you guys are talking about, deserves so much credit. Chris Jones, a lot of what he did in this game was not going to show up on the stat sheet. Trust me, I bet on him to get a sack. But he was getting double-teamed perpetually and opening up one-on-ones for a lot of other guys. As the game progressed, obviously it coincided with the Falcons losing 2 of their starting offensive linemen. You know, that's football. The Chiefs have had to deal with it. The Falcons had to deal with it. It's difficult, especially when it happens during the game. But the Chiefs and Spagnuolo really took advantage of that. Turk Wharton, obviously, but Mike Dana, Karlaftis started winning a little earlier, started sending some extra guys on blitzes, whether that's Drew Tranquill, whether it was Nick Bolton. I was just impressed at the Chiefs' ability to take advantage of a deficiency that happened during the game. But you're right, man. Turk Wharton all season long has been perpetually underrated. It was nice to see FAU. Now, he was not blocked, but it was nice to see FAU at least get his name called and make a play out there. And then again, I do think as the game went on, you started to see a lot more pressure. I was impressed. The defense, I thought, did a great job. I mean, backup offensive linemen or not, they give 3 points in the second half. That's outstanding. outstanding. The offense had a lot of room for improvement, but outside of a couple of blown coverages and quite frankly, just one massive one that stands out, and that was the Nazi Johnson, Drew Tranquil first drive miscommunication, the defense was absolutely nails.
Yeah, this is a challenging offense for a defense. Even with their limitations along the offensive line tonight, they've got size, they've got speed, like they've got some guys that can play. And I thought that they did a nice job offensively with their game plan, trying to keep the Chiefs off balance. The Chiefs can't take everything away, but they did enough here to win the game. And make no mistake, the Chiefs defense won this football game. At the end, back-to-back drives, they're out there. The Chiefs go 3 and out. They stood tall. A couple more super chats to get to. Our guy, Rhett Frago. The Chiefs are back to stalling on 3rd and short. Offense has to be better late. Plan for me to take Kelce out of my fantasy lineup. That will probably help his stats. 3-0. The Chiefs have smash mouth football sustainable. I'm really nervous about the injuries, all of the bubble screens. Let's talk about the offense a little bit. The Chiefs are really committed to the run. I mean, 33 carries. They only averaged 3.9 yards per carry. It was a serviceable effort by the running backs tonight, right? 4.2 yards per carry for Carson Steele, 4.2 for Samaje Perine. They just went out there and they got what was there for them, which is, I think, what you would expect from these two backs. Probably not going to do a whole lot more. What's your take, guys? Are the Chiefs a power running team now?
I do think that they are going to continue to have to make teams honest with the keeping the box light. Like we've seen that they're just going to continue to do that over and over again, where teams are going to invite the run because you would rather that than Patrick Mahomes throw the ball. So they're going to continue to have to punish teams. And I do think that them staying committed to it, it does create some of the plays that they have with Rashee Rice. I think the thing that's just like interesting here is seeing how they've basically become a Rashee Rice offense recently, and his maturation and how good he looks. I think that Xavier Worthy's just going to come along slowly. I thought it was noteworthy today that they kind of used him in more of a manufactured touch role than they have in the past. And, I thought it was nice to see Juju get going. He had the touchdown. That was basically all he did in this game. I think he had one other catch. But, yeah, I think that we're seeing a version of the Chiefs offense that's definitely not going to be the finished product. I think it's going to take some time. I thought one of the most noteworthy things is that we're not sitting here talking about Wanya Morris really struggling. I figure he's probably won that left tackle job for the time being until something changes. That probably will help too, right? Like if they feel like they can get comfortable with him in the game, then they can go on. And yeah, I think that they miss Pacheco. Pacheco's really good about, hey, he gets a dump off in the flat. He turns what might be a 4-yard gain into a 10-yard gain. So they'll miss him, and I'm sure that they will. But yeah, it just felt like the offense is just a tick off. Like there's, I mentioned at the halftime show, it feels like they're just constantly trying to get different guys going. Like, all right, we're going to, let's get Noah Gray going here. All right, let's try to get something to Justin Watson. Let's try to get something here. And I'm not sure if the solution is to simplify and to make it less players, or maybe that it's truly just execution. I'm not sure. But either way, they made enough plays to win the game, and the defense is what helped them win this game.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the new game plan for the Chiefs going forward, but it's clearly what they're having to do to have the most success, at least right now. Teams are just not allowing them to have explosive plays. They're just playing the too high shell. The Chiefs don't have an explosive runner, and quite frankly, I don't think Pacheco is necessarily considered an explosive runner. His long this year was 11 yards. His long in game 1 was 5. He's fine, but he's not an explosive runner either. No, Hollywood Brown obviously is hurting. Travis Kelce, for the most part, being non-existent. Again, I'm not necessarily worried about Travis Kelce come playoff time, but right now it's putting a lot of pressure on Rashee Rice. Mahomes is just a little off. But you saw when he tried to force the ball downfield, what happened? It was an interception right into Justin Simmons. What happened when they decided to play more conservatively? Well, they marched the ball and matriculated the ball down the field. Maybe you have to run a little more under center play action, which again the Chiefs do not do. But it's just interesting how teams have adjusted, and now this is NFL wide now, but especially facing Kansas City. And part of that is you're having lighter boxes, as Price is mentioning. But I've talked about this before with Emmitt Smith and going around the NFL with a lot of veteran guys. When you look at linebacker play used to be a whole bunch of 250 guys, get downhill, right? They're run stuffers. Well, now there are a lot of pass coverage linebackers. Now it's a lot lighter. Instead of 250, maybe now they're 230. And so they're better apt at covering tight ends. They're more apt at covering running backs out of the backfield. And so teams aren't punishing them enough going up the gut. It's why you saw Carson Steele get the ball as much as he did, and was, quite frankly, the Chiefs were effective. As long as they don't get antsy, as long as they don't try and force something that does not need to be forced, the Chiefs can win this way. Is it pretty? No. Is it sexy? No. But the Patriots did this for how long? How long? It wasn't like Tom Brady threw for 5K every single year. How many times did they win 22-17 and win ugly? All the damn time. We're in that part right now. The Chiefs had a good game plan.
And I think like the Patriots analogy is really great too, because if you remember back to a lot of those Patriots teams, they didn't start off hot. They were a lot of times 2-2, 1-2, 3-3 in September and October. And then they started really getting things going towards the latter part of the year. The Chiefs are figuring things out right now. They've got a lot of change, even just like in this week, right? A new left tackle, 2 new running backs, a guy who didn't even come to Kansas City until August. And that's going to continue if they bring Kareem Hunt in, or maybe they plug Clyde Edwards-Helaire in there. I know they talked about that on the broadcast a little bit. Juju Smith-Schuster just came in. There's a lot of change here. For them to be 3-0 and be working through all this change is a good sign. And yes, we all want to believe and hope that Travis Kelce, the reason why the productivity hasn't been there is because they are just choosing to limit his time in the offense and limit his targets, because he's got an extra gear that'll turn on towards the playoffs. Justin Herbert left his game injured. Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt, and Joey Bosa all left that game injured. That's probably the biggest challenger to the Chiefs right now is the Chargers, and they play them next week with all of those injuries. The Chiefs have an extreme luxury right now where they can slow play this and become that playoff team that they have to be. So optimistic side, you just tell yourself like, hey, they're figuring this all out. They're building the plane while they're flying it. If you want to be pessimistic, they just barely escaped another game that they should have lost. I'm not sure.
You know, I think some of the deficiencies, some of the things that they need to figure out, I think that's why they're running the ball so much. They're trying to stay out of negative plays. They've got a kind of a shaky left tackle situation. They lost their downfield veteran threat and Hollywood Brown. Xavier Worthy isn't quite ready yet. And so Andy wants to stay out of negative plays. He wants to not have a bunch of 3 and outs. So he's running the ball. People were complaining about bubble screens in the chat and on Twitter. Those are runs, okay? Those are just extra runs, keeping the defense honest. And you look at the time of possession in this game, despite the Falcons doing a little bit better in the second half, the Chiefs, 34 minutes and 57 seconds to 25:03. The Chiefs gained more yards. They had more first downs. Like, this was a formula that worked for them. And if their offense was a little bit more in sync, a little bit more well-oiled, they would have killed these guys. If those field goals were touchdowns and Mahomes doesn't throw the bad interception,
come
right?
on, come on.
I
hate playing that game because every other team can do the exact same thing.
You get in the red zone, you score touchdowns. You don't have close games like this. When you dominate the time of possession like the Chiefs did here, they were 2 for 4 in the red zone. They missed an extra point. They threw a red zone interception. Like, this is
an Andy thing, though. We know Andy Reid and the Chiefs in the red zone. This is kind of, it's give and take. It's do you want Andy to be an absolute genius? When it's 3rd and 15, and then all of a sudden when it's 3rd and 1, he becomes a second grader. Like I you know what? Maybe I want him to become a second grader when it comes to 3rd. Like I'm not, but like everyone's gonna have some sort of drawback. I get angry too. Trust me. I was tweeting about it. I was livid at the 3rd and 1 calls, and sometimes the lack of going for it, or should I say not going for it on 4th and 1. I'm with you, Patrick, but that's his drawback. We've known this, and at this point, I don't think it's going to change.
I think you're going to get a regression to the mean there. They're going to start to figure some of these things out. Like when you have a game where they kick, this many field goals, you're letting the Falcons hang around, and then you don't have a margin for error. And that's why this was a 1-score game at the end here, instead of the Chiefs being up 10 points, which is what they should have been up in this game. But look, I got a couple more super chats to get to, and then we'll keep this because we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to the offense. So let me just pull up old producer Richard's chat here. By the way, you guys are watching the Arrowhead Addict podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. It is a victory party. All right, let's see here. Wiley Possum donated $5. Appreciate you, man. Says all together now. Defense. Oh, and the punt god for getting it done again. What a leap and leg to pin them late. That was a huge play by Matt Ariza for that ball not going over his head. Jake Cooper. Nice. Jake Cooper donates and says 3-0, big win in Atlanta, Arrowhead to Bolton. Love it. Slothy donates another $5 and says, let's go sports ball. Never a doubt. Nick Wright would be so proud of me. LMAO. Mizu Jim donated $1.99, no comment. And then Slothy gifted 5 memberships. I hope you guys snatch those up. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the offense. Because I think the big thing that everybody is concerned about at this point is the lack of Travis Kelce. I mean, when I look at the way the offense is performing right now, I'm like generally happy. It's a little disjointed, but you've got Rashee Rice going up there, gobbling up 12 receptions for 110 yards. Looks like the best player on the field. Travis Kelce, 4 for 30, dropping balls, out of sync. What now? At this point, we're closing in on the quarter mark of the season. Price, are you starting to get worried about Travis Kelce?
I'm definitely not pressing the panic button, but my finger's starting to get closer to the button for sure. I think that when you look at this and what this game meant, right? To the Falcons, this game meant a lot. They are in prime time. They're trying to reestablish a culture. They went out and made this risky pick at quarterback after signing Kirk Cousins. This is supposed to be a new era for them. Ian Rappaport's like putting out some like scheduled tweet in the middle of the night that's like they view this as one of the most important games in franchise history. And for the Chiefs, they're just like slow playing this, right? Where we've talked about it, where this is like glorified preseason. This did not mean what it meant to the Falcons for the Chiefs. But at some point, you would like to see Travis Kelce come back and get it. It was nice to see the drive after they came out at half where they really needed a touchdown to kind of reestablish and take the lead, that they did feed him a little bit. And I thought that was probably the best sign. It's like, okay, that looks like him. I will say, whenever you go and turn on the tape, you see moments where he's open. It's not that he's just blanketed. It's almost like they're just going away from him. You know, some people have pointed out like the big play last week was reversed by a hand to the face. That would have made a stat line look a lot different. It was also open on the Wanya Morris touchdown, but I mean, you're going to get the big guy the touchdown. He's got great dance moves. You want to see those. So I would say that like I'm moderately concerned, but I think just the biggest thing is keep him healthy. And I would like to see him turn it on. You know, those games that really matter, if it's against the Bills or the Texans or a divisional game where it's tight, you want to see him be able to go back and get it a couple of times, you know, like a reliever in the playoffs in baseball, whenever, you know, they take it up a notch and they got 2 or 3 more miles an hour velocity. Just want to be able to see him to turn the notch.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm less nervous than the majority of Chiefs fans in regards to Travis Kelce, because we're just a couple months removed of him carrying the Chiefs offense on his back in the playoffs. We're a couple months removed of him just making Kyle Hamilton look like his child. I'm not that concerned. I know it's 3 weeks in now, and 3 weeks is now. Is that a trend? Is that reality? Whatever you want to call it. It's the regular season. I'm not there yet. Again, quarterback, tight end, very different. But how often did we hear this about Tom Brady? Perpetually. Travis Kelce, I think, will be able to turn it on when he needs to turn it on. He had a couple of nice plays when it was a third down here or the Chiefs needed to catch there, and he was able to come down with one or find a way to shimmy open. I think it's the mustache that's really holding him back. It's a bad look. That and his haircut. Trav, it's making you look like a mechanic. Like, that's not you, baby. Travis, what happened to the swagger? Come on.
Let me ask you guys this. Would you be more or less happy if at the end of this game, Rashee Rice had 4 catches for 30 yards and Travis Kelce had 12 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown?
I would be concerned that the Chiefs probably needed Kelce that much. I'd be sitting here saying, oh, wow, he's how old now, and it's week 3, and the Chiefs have to go to that well time after time after time to sneak away a victory. I think that'd be my main reaction. I'd be thrilled, obviously, that he had it still in his bag, and we'd love the numbers and stuff. But I think I'd most likely would say, wow, that's not good that the Chiefs have to use him that much this early in the season.
Yeah, I agree with Sterling. And I think, again, this is just an expectations thing. We got to remember, like, our expectations and the things, they travel up I-29 and down I-29 from St. Joseph. And we spent all offseason talking about how this offense was just going to be a whole nother level. They've not had a starting left tackle be successful yet. They've lost their top veteran wide receiver addition. They've lost their top running back, and they're 3-0. And by the way, the Chiefs scored more than 22 points or more 7 times last year. They've already done it 3 times this year, and they're 3 times through the year, right? Just 3 games. So things are not as bleak as they seem. There was a lot of times that 22 points would have been a pretty hefty output for the offense last year. So I think we just need to kind of readjust our expectations, realize they're going through some adversity as a team. They've had to deal with injuries. They've had to deal with guys who missed a majority of training camp, and they're still 3-0. I will get more concerned about Kelsey if we're, still talking about this and they're well over halfway through the year. So it'll be interesting to see.
And look, I think that part of the reason why Rashee Rice is awesome. He's unbelievable. He's getting better. But part of the reason he's able to go for 12 and a 110 is because Travis Kelce's running around out there, terrifying defenses. And I don't think that right now, I don't think we're there yet where teams are looking at the Chiefs. As good of a season as he had last year, I don't think we're at the point where teams are looking at the Chiefs and they're like, oh, Rashee Rice is a huge problem. We've got to deal with Rashee Rice. They're still focused on trying to stop Travis Kelce. And what's going to happen is Rashee Rice is going to keep doing this to teams, and then Travis Kelce is going to have a big game because they're going to try to take away Rashee Rice. I think it's also important for us to gain perspective here. Like, the Chiefs went into this game, they're 3-0. They just started Carson Steele, an undrafted free agent who they were listing as a fullback, as their running back. Samaje Perine, who got cut by the Broncos at the end of the preseason. They lost Hollywood Brown in the first play of preseason, and they're 3-0, and they've beaten the Bengals and the Ravens and a talented Falcons team. We should be doing backflips. I mean, this is incredible. This is a great start. And they're not, and they haven't even played close to their best football yet.
Yeah, and this is about the toughest stretch they're going to have all season long outside of, again, the 3 games in 9 days or 10 days, whatever you want to call that thing right there. But it's such a good point to bring up, and maybe that's why I'm calmer than some. And again, I never tell anyone how to fan. You can fan how you want. If you want to be petrified, if you want to think this guy is falling, that is your right. Hey, we're Chiefs fans. At least for me, I live in America. That's our right. We can feel that way if we want to, but I'm not going to, because we saw this play out last year. We saw the Chiefs last year on Christmas look atrocious. We all said, well, at least we have free plans in January and February. We didn't. You shouldn't have booked anything because the Chiefs were on their way to winning back-to-back Lombardis. So, again, I know it's early in the season, and in the first 3 games doesn't always tell you what the end of the season is going to be like. But I guess for me, I'm a little more laid back now. Like, I trust this team almost inherently now. I'm not going to sit here and not complain. I'm not going to sit here and not break down what I think they could do better. But also, I'm not going to be quite as over the top and just panicked, because, again, they've earned the right. They've earned the trust, and they've showed us time and time again that they're able to adjust as the season progresses. And once the playoffs come around, they really do take a step forward.
Yeah, and I think, you bring up a great point. I told myself at some point last year after they won the back-to-back Super Bowls, I was like, you know what? Next year, you just got to take a deep breath and relax and realize no matter what happens next year, there's so much cash already in the bank for this team and this legacy for Mahomes and Reed and Kelsey and all the people that we really care about on the team, that if they have a year where they get eliminated in the wild card or something, it'll be okay. And then you get in the situation like, oh my God, this is so important. It has to happen. Right. But you just got to realize the perspective of a lot of other fans. We just had a Falcons fan here in the chat say, they would love to be 3-0. Think about what the Falcons have been through the last couple of years. They're just like a never ending pit of misery when it comes to the quarterback position after Matt Ryan. And even with Matt Ryan, they get up 28-3 on Tom Brady, and that still haunts them, right? Like the Chiefs are lucky enough to have been to 4 Super Bowls, won 3 of them, and they don't have that haunting nightmare of 28-3 or something like that. That's what being a Chiefs fan was until 15 showed up, right? So just cherish it. Not to get too sappy, but we only have so long, right? Like I make sure both of my children always have a Patrick Mahomes jersey as long as he's here, because they don't know what they have until it's gone.
I think Sterling made a great point, right? Like he's like,
my Matt Castle jersey, was that my great point? Because I can bust a Matt Castle jersey. I wore that today, baby.
I ordered a Matt Castle jersey.
Been a bad kid, yeah. Like that's the Cole for Christmas, the Matt Castle jersey underneath the tree.
Better than Brody Croyle. Sorry, I mean, come on, that's.
But you made a great point, because saying I'm not worried, I trust this team. We've seen this before. Like the regular season for the Chiefs is like Rocky when he does the training montage, and like he goes up in the mountains and he's like running up a hill with a log on his back and he's doing pull-ups and stuff and he's running in the snow. Like it's not pretty, it's ugly. There's nobody there cheering. And then they cut to like the Russian, and like Rocky 5, and like he's got all the high tech and he's like hooked up to all the, he's running uphill and he's all juiced up, through the eyeballs, steroids coming out of his eyeballs. Those are other teams when they play the Chiefs. Like regular season, Falcons, Price pointed out, like they bring out Samuel L. Jackson, and special intro from Samuel L. Jackson. He's there in the building. This is it. We're gonna take on the champs. The Chiefs are like the Chiefs. That game for the Chiefs, they're running up the hill in the snow with the log on their back. Like they're just trying to get ready for the Super Bowl. And so like that situation at the end of the game, defense needs to make a stand. That's great experience for the Chiefs. That's great experience for Chamari Connor, all these young guys. And it pays off. We see it pay off every time when they get into the playoffs at the end of the year. Let's get a couple more super chats here. All right, next up is Slothy, who's upset with Sterling because he's making fun of Travis Kelce's mustache. He says, Sterling clowning on Travis Kelce's mustache is sending me. And then Jalen Butler says, Kelce is fine. We're 3-0. I bet we're talking about the same topic on Kelce a year from now. Kelce is elite. I agree with you. I'm not worried about Travis Kelce even a little bit. I'm just not. I think he's going to be fine. I don't think the regular season matters. I don't care about stats. I care about the fact that the Chiefs won another football game. He's going to get going. He's going to be fine. Do you guys want to give out some hardware?
I would love to give out hardware.
I mean, it's a victory party. Let's do some earning their arrowheads. Sterling, you can give out more than one. Who earned an arrowhead in this victory from you?
Well, first one's Nick Bolton. Come on now. You see the Mizzou football over my left shoulder. I've been critical of him the first couple games of the season. Again, I think he's not played quite as bad as a lot of folks think he has. I think a lot of that actually has been Drew Tranquil earlier on in this year. But I thought Nick Bolton was incredible in this game in all facets. I mean, I thought Nick Bolton was truthfully a difference maker. He wants to get paid like a top 5 linebacker. He played like a top 5 linebacker today. It was fitting that he was going in and out of the game, came back in to make the game sealing play. Just huge hat tip to Nick Bolton. I'll let you guys take some so I don't take all the good ones, but Nick Bolton, baby, here's to you. MIZ, stop with your high school. I know it's I get it, Nick, but in your intros, please. It's not like Mizzou's littered with a ton of starting players. Just one time, Nick, give me an MIZ. One time for me.
I love it. I love it. What about you, Price?
I'm going to give 2 out. I'm going to give my first one to Rashee Rice, who had another 100-yard game. He's had 200-yard games on the season, and then the other game he had 75 yards. He has become a wide receiver 1. I think like all the time we're always like, oh, should the Chiefs be in on Brandon Ayuk? What about what about the time they didn't draft George Pickens, whatever? The Chiefs have a wide receiver one. Maybe the Chiefs wide receiver one was the friends we made all along the way. And Rashee Rice is just a stud with the ball in his hands. And I remember in the preseason last year, we're all concerned because he had some drops. And he has been the cog that has kept this offense going. He is so tough after the catch. And he has really made this offense into a new version of itself that's been really important. My other Arrowhead, I'm going to go Shamari Connor. Glue guy, Shamari Connor. You know what? Like, I feel like defenses like this, where it's so soundly built all across it, there's just these guys who make these impact splash plays. And through the last 2 games, he's had 2 of those. And to have the wherewithal to lateral the ball to Justin Watson, I thought they were going to do it again. Like I was waiting to do the halftime show, and my broadcast was a little bit ahead of producer Richards, and I was like making sounds. I was like, oh, to like this Chiefs regime drafting impact defensive backs in the 4th round. That's not normal. Teams
of year, right? Football's back, and it's here to stay until February. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. You can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite player's stats. I've been messing around with Underdog for a couple of seasons now. It's an absolute blast. Super easy to use app, simple interface. You pop in, you check out what's going on with your favorite team, your favorite players. They've got it set up. Oh, this player is going to have X amount of receptions, higher or lower, lock it in. Super easy to do.
Take the lower on Kelsey.
Right. You just need to head over to Underdog's simple to use mobile app or underdogfantasy.com to sign up. You got to use our promo code, though, Arrowhead Addict, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code Arrowhead Addict to claim your new customer special for a free pick on your deposit offer. You got to be 18 and older, 21 and older in Massachusetts and Arizona, 19 and older in Alabama and Nebraska. And you got to be present where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Or text Next Step to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-New York, or text Hope New York 467369. All right. Thanks for sitting through that. But definitely use our code Arrowhead Addict and help out the pod. And if you're not going to do that, hit the like button over there on the old YouTube. All right, look, we got to give one to Turk Wharton. He's just been absolutely fantastic for the Chiefs in the middle. We talked about him earlier in the show. He's getting an Arrowhead from me. Also, Big Mike Pennell, number 69, on the ground. Kirk Cousins trying to run for a first down. Swats a big paw out there, catches the ankle, saves the Chiefs. It helps him get off the field. I thought that was a really underrated, huge play by Mike Pennell. I'm a big fan of his. And I'm going to give one to Matt Araiza. Totally different game. If that ball goes over his head, it's a disaster for the Chiefs. Not only does he catch it, he gets off a really great punt as well. And shout out to Carson Steele, man. I mean, 17 carries, 72 yards, went in there, was physical. Just an incredible story. I'm really happy for him. And a good solid game by him stepping up.
Can we talk about the reptile he has for a second? As a boy dad, and you'll get to experience this, Patrick, you start learning all sorts of things about animals that you didn't realize because your kid will tell you them. They read books.
Whoa, time out. How old are you, Bryce? You have a kid?
Yeah.
In high school? What? They allow you to have kids in high school?
I'm not going to reveal my age, but I will tell you that, like, I own a home. I have a career. I've graduated college. I don't know how old you thought I was.
Bryce,
I'm probably older than you.
Wow. Well, this is
everybody's older than
you. You have great skincare, Bryce. Sorry, that's all. I'm just impressed.
It's the acne. It's
a great skincare routine.
Being overweight, it just provides a natural baby face. But yeah, so I actually have 2. More than one, Sterling. Yeah. I'm like, I was born. Okay, we'll talk off air.
Way cooler than me in high school, apparently. Wow, good for you.
Okay, whatever. So you'll learn all the ins and outs of animals, right? Like the alligators, they have more round snouts. The crocodiles, they're more pointed. Crocodiles live in like in like Africa. Alligators live here in America. Why is it an alligator that's named Crocky J? Someone needs to help this dude. It can't be both. It's either one. It's either Allie J or Crocky J. Is it a crocodile's an alligator? What's the deal there?
I've always been confused about the alligator crocodile thing, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. Do you know the difference, Sterling?
Yeah, so like
alligator teeth. It's about the jaw.
And where they live, right? Saltwater crocodiles. They live in Africa. Alligators live in the United States.
You get the one-offs though. It's like the exception that proves the rule, basically. So every once in a while, you get like you get the random one. As a Florida man, sometimes I understand it, but then I get confused again.
I don't know. I just think
Everglades.
I just think that there needs to be more discussion about the fact that it's named Crocky J when it's an alligator. Identity crisis.
Because it's kind of cool, man.
It is cool. They had the hat on it tonight. That was pretty dope. I was also like, did you see people like he was supposed to be at a wedding or something? Like he was supposed to be at his sister's wedding or whatever. Football guy, not at the wedding, right? Like banned fall weddings. You ever hear that with college football and all that stuff? Football guy playing an NFL game instead of being at the wedding.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I thought it was awesome. The sister, totally supportive. They even have a live feed there at the reception. Everybody's watching Carson get to start his first NFL game. That's what it's all about, man. It's all about supporting your loved ones, being there when you can. And I know, I'm sure his sister knows he would have loved to have been there. What's up, Sterling?
Speaking of loved ones, DS, appreciate the donation right there. Thank you for the super chat. Says love your show, but we love you, DS. Okay, ELE. Everyone love everyone. You know what, Falcons fans? I'll say it. For the most part, we even love you. There we go.
You got to feel bad for Falcons fans, man.
I got no beef with the birds.
You know what? I like Algie Crumpler. There we go.
I like Aaron Ladd. He's gone now. He's a Falcon. Rest in peace.
I like Sean Witherspoon.
Another good piece of information. No injuries to report from Andy Reid at the podium. Sounds like Chiefs came away with a clean bill of health. That's the most important thing.
Andy, give us an update on Nick Bolton as well as Mahomes and his knee. Somehow Mahomes can do all these crazy things, take the most brutal hit you've ever seen and be fine. And then when he tries to do a QB sneak or kneel, it turns into some massive ordeal.
That was weird.
I can't prepares him for every single scenario that could ever happen. And then they never work on kneeling or QB sneaks, apparently. And that's when the injuries take place.
Maybe we can get Bobby on the show this week to talk us through what Patrick was thinking on that slide and what he's going to do to work with him. Listen, the Chiefs are 3-0. Next week, going back on the road, their second straight road game to Los Angeles. As Price pointed out earlier in the show, these guys are banged up a little bit. Herbert's maybe got a high ankle sprain. Is he going to play? You could be facing Easton Stick. They play good brand of defense and they like to run the football, but they haven't been able to do a whole lot else. A huge opportunity for the Chiefs next week. If they can go to LA and take care of business against the Chargers, all of a sudden the Chargers would drop to 2-2. The Chiefs would be 4-0. Vegas just lost to the corpse of Andy Dalton.
They've been eliminated from the playoffs, actually. It's weird.
That's it.
But they're already out.
They got curb stomped by Andy Dalton. He hopped up out of the grave, threw open the casket lid, and just beat the hell out of Vegas. And then the Broncos got a win finally. But I don't think they're very good either. So great chance for the Chiefs. And then they have two NFC games back to back. They got Monday Night Football. They're going to take on the Saints, and then they go play the 49ers. So really interesting schedule for the Chiefs here. They can kind of grab hold of the AFC West, and then two NFC games when they can just let the rest of the AFC duke it out. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. Listen, everybody, be here for it this week. We're going to have the full lineup of coverage for you here at Arrowhead Addict, from Price's show, The Intangibles, to Tuesdays with Sterling, to Wacky Wednesday, to my show, The OG Hour, on Thursday. And then we'll be here for you on Sunday with our pregame show, halftime show, and our postgame show when the Chiefs travel to take on LA. Fellas, any closing thoughts? Sterling?
This is just so awesome. Think back about a decade ago, when these games would happen and the Chiefs would be 0-3. Think back a decade plus ago when we would be fairly happy to lose a game by only 5 points. We'd be like, all right, wow, they played a decent game. Look at the hustle they put out there. Wow, we love to see it. The Chiefs have played, quite frankly, some pretty poor football, at least to their standards, and they are 3-0. There are things to fix, but the foundation is good. I like the majority of what I saw from Wanye. We can have another extended conversation this week, obviously, but you're seeing some progression from some of the younger guys. The secondary that was such in disarray, it seemed like heading into the season, has somewhat stabilized. And for the most part, I think the offense is going to figure it out. So, again, the Chiefs are 3-0. Their toughest stretch is probably behind them. Let's enjoy this.
Price?
Yeah, from me, I mean, like, just look at the opportunity ahead of you. You've already beaten two of the biggest contenders in the AFC. You have the tiebreaker over them, so you're essentially at 2.5 games up on the Bengals and the Ravens. We talked about the oncoming water for the Chargers, who are the closest team in the division. You have a chance to go beat them and go up 2.5 games, 2.5 games on them. Then basically the only games remaining on your schedule that you really got to worry about are the Texans, who looked very mortal against Sam Darnold today. And you've got the 49ers, which they just lost to a banged up Rams team, and the Bills. And Monday Night Football, you get to watch the Bengals and the Rams play tomorrow night. So some enjoyable hate watching tomorrow while your Chiefs have already won. I mean, what more could you ask for? It's really setting up great. They will drop one of these games. It's just what they do. It'll be some puzzling game that we'll all be mad on here for, but things are setting up really good. They just got to manage the injuries and build this for the long term. But there's a lot of really good things happening. It's a great time to be a Chiefs fan.
You mean you're not worried about the 3-0 Pittsburgh Steelers? They're on the schedule.
Yeah, I watched that game, and no, I am not worried. No.
Yeah, they've got a great defense, but not a whole lot else. Credit Mike Tomlin, man, finds ways to win. All right, everybody, we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much for your support all day long for everybody for, of course, Sterling, Adam Best, Price, Matt Connor, producer Richard, everybody who made the shows possible today, and of course our members. If you're interested in becoming a member of the Arrowhead Addict podcast, check out the link in the description. There's all kinds of ways to support us, or head on over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review, ask a question in your review, and I'll answer it on Thursday's show. All right, everybody, we will see you next week, but until then, the Chiefs are 3-0. Go Chiefs.